They mistook silence for weakness.
I'm watching my wife, Vanessa, get ready for another one of her work parties. And if this were a Stephen King novel, I'd be the guy who gets eaten by his own dog. Instead, I'm just getting screwed by my wife and her CEO. She's standing in front of our bedroom mirror, the one that cost more than my first car, applying lipstick with the precision of a surgeon. Red. Always red for these parties. The kind of red that screams, "Look at me," from across a crowded room. "Don't wait up, David," she says without looking at me. Her voice has that clipped, professional tone she uses when she's trying to sound important. This networking event could run late. Networking, right. I've been married to this woman for 12 years, and I know the difference between her actual work voice and her lying voice. This is definitely the lying voice. "What kind of networking requires you to forget your underwear?" I ask, nodding toward the lacy black lingerie still sitting on our dresser. She doesn't even blush, just shrugs and tosses them in the drawer. Panty lines. You wouldn't understand fashion. Before I can respond, a car horn honks outside. Not her usual Lexus horn. This one's deeper, more expensive. Through our bedroom window, I catch a glimpse of a black Mercedes idling in our driveway. "That's my ride," she says, grabbing her purse. A purse that's new, I notice. Designer. Probably costs more than most people make in a month. "Since when do you carpool to work events?" "Since I don't want to drink and drive." She pauses at the door, finally looking at me. Her eyes are cold, calculating. "Maybe if you showed more interest in advancing your own career instead of questioning mine, you'd understand." And there it is. The dig about my cheap shoes and second-tier success. I'm a successful investor, for Christ's sake. I've built a solid portfolio, made smart moves, turned my blue-collar roots into something respectable. But compared to Vanessa's corporate ladder climbing at Morrison Tech, I might as well be flipping burgers. The horn honks again, more insistent this time. "I have to go," she says. "Important people are waiting." Bait she's gone before I can say another word. Her heels clicking down our hardwood stairs like a countdown timer. I hear the front door slam, then the sound of the Mercedes pulling away. I stand there in our bedroom, surrounded by the trappings of our upper-middle-class life. The king-size bed with its Egyptian cotton sheets, the walk-in closet full of her designer clothes and my off-the-rack suits, the framed photos of us at various charity galas and company parties, both of us smiling those perfect fake smiles. Everything looks perfect from the outside. Just like our neighborhood, with its manicured lawns and two-car garages. Just like our marriage, with its scheduled date nights and coordinated social media posts. But I've been noticing things lately, little things that don't add up, like how she's been working late 3 nights a week for the past 2 months. Always the same nights. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. What kind of tech company has networking events on Saturday nights? Like how she's suddenly interested in expensive lingerie, but never wears it for me. Like how she comes home from these work parties with her makeup smudged and her hair messed up, claiming she was dancing with colleagues. Like how our joint credit card shows charges at high-end hotels downtown, always on the nights of her mysterious work events. I walk over to her vanity, where her laptop sits open. She forgot to close it in her rush to leave. The screen is still glowing, showing her email inbox. I shouldn't look. I know I shouldn't look, but I look anyway. Her password is Princess2011, the year we got our dog Princess. Same password she's used for everything for the past decade. For someone who works in tech, she's surprisingly careless about digital security. Her email is full of the usual corporate nonsense. Meeting requests, project updates, replies to endless reply all chains that nobody actually reads. But there's one thread that catches my attention. The subject line reads, "Saturday arrangements." I click on it. The first email is from someone named Richard Morrison. That would be the CEO of her company. The timestamp shows it was sent 3 hours ago. "Vanessa, looking forward to tonight's gathering. The usual arrangements? I've invited Sarah from marketing and Tom from legal. Should be an interesting evening. R." Her reply, sent an hour later, "Absolutely. I'll bring the champagne. See you at the penthouse. V." A penthouse. Morrison, I've heard Vanessa mention it before, always with a dreamy look in her eyes. I scroll up to see earlier emails in the thread. There are dozens of them, going back months. The language is coded, professional on the surface, but there's something underneath. Something that makes my stomach clench. "Richard, Thank you for last Saturday's opportunity. I believe I demonstrated my commitment to the team. Looking forward to our next collaboration. V. Vanessa. Your performance exceeded expectations. I think you'll find your next review very favorable. Same time next week? Row. Performance, collaboration, review. Jesus Christ. I keep scrolling, looking for something more explicit, something that proves what I'm starting to suspect, and then I find it. It's an email from 2 weeks ago, sent from Vanessa's personal account to her work account. Probably a mistake. She meant to send it to someone else, but selected the wrong contact. Sarah, can't wait for tonight. I bought that red lingerie set you recommended. Think Richard will like it? Tom said he's bringing that new paralegal from his office. This is so much better than sitting at home with David and his boring investment talk. See you at 8. V. I read it twice, then 3 times. My wife is cheating on me, not just with her boss, but with multiple people. It's some kind of group thing, a regular arrangement involving her coworkers. And she's talking about me like I'm some pathetic loser she has to endure. I sit down hard on her vanity chair, my legs suddenly weak. 12 years of marriage. 12 years of building a life together, of shared dreams and joint bank accounts and matching Christmas stockings. All of it a lie. I'm still staring at the screen when I hear a car door slam outside. My heart jumps. Is she back already? Did she forget something? I rush to the window and peer through the blinds. It's not Vanessa. It's our neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, getting out of her Honda Civic. But she's looking toward our house with interest, probably wondering about the Mercedes that picked up my wife. Great. The neighborhood gossip network will be buzzing tomorrow. I close the laptop and head downstairs to the kitchen. I need a drink. Maybe several drinks. Our kitchen is Vanessa's pride and joy. Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, a wine fridge that costs more than some people's cars. Everything perfectly arranged, like a showroom display. I pour myself 3 fingers of bourbon and sit at our breakfast bar, staring out the window at our backyard. The pool is covered for winter. The patio furniture stacked and stored, everything neat and orderly and dead. My phone buzzes, a text message. For a moment, I think it might be Vanessa. Maybe she's having second thoughts. Maybe she wants to come home and talk. But it's from my best friend Jake, an ex-cop who now runs his own private investigation business. Beer tonight? Sarah's working late, and I'm bored as heck. I start to type, can't. Vanessa's out, and I should wait for her, but stop myself. Why should I wait for her? She's not waiting for me. She's at some penthouse downtown, doing God knows what with her boss and coworkers. I delete the message and type a new one. Meet me at Murphy's in an hour. And Jake, I might need your professional services. Uh-oh. What kind of services? The kind you used to do before you retired from the force. Surveillance? Among other things. There's a long pause before his next message. Jesus, David, what's going on? Just bring your camera. I finish my bourbon and head upstairs to change clothes. If Vanessa can dress up for her evening out, so can I. But first, I'm going to make copies of those emails. Murphy's Pub is exactly the kind of place Vanessa would never be caught dead in. Dark wood, sticky floors, and a clientele that's more interested in watching the game than networking their way up corporate ladders. It's perfect for what I need to discuss. Jake is already there when I arrive, sitting in a corner booth with 2 beers and the kind of serious expression he used to wear when he was still Detective Jake Morrison. Yeah, Morrison. Same last name as Vanessa's CEO boss. Life's full of little ironies. You look like heck, he says as I slide into the booth. Thanks. You always know just what to say. I take a long pull of beer and look around the work. Well, these news fund theirself with 3 tunches and work shirts are playing pool. The bartender is reading a paperback novel. ESPN is playing on 3 different screens, but nobody's really watching. So, Jake says, leaning forward, what kind of surveillance are we talking about? Business or personal? Personal. Very personal. I pull out my phone and show him the contract. Speaking about this, but I'm shorting them right now. Really, they're trying to pull my big remembers, the expression getting darker with each message. Don't be sorry yet. Be professional. What do you see? Jake studies the screenshots again, this time with his investigator's eye instead of his friend's sympathy. Pattern behavior, regular meetings, same participants, coded language. This isn't a one-time thing or even a simple affair. This is organized. What I thought. How long has this been going on? Upon the emails, at least 6 months, maybe longer. Jake sets down his beer and looks at me seriously. What do you want to do about it? Because I have to tell you, just knowing about it and proving it in a way that holds up legally are two different things. I want proof, real proof. Photos, documentation, everything. For divorce proceedings? I consider this. Divorce seems too simple, too clean. After 12 years of marriage, after building a life together, after all the ways she's made me feel small and inadequate, divorce feels like letting her off easy. Maybe, or maybe I want to understand exactly what I'm dealing with before I decide how to handle it. Jake nods slowly. Okay, but this kind of surveillance isn't cheap, and it's not quick. It could take weeks to build a solid case. I've got time and money. What's your wife's schedule like? When are these meetings? Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, always the same pattern. That's good for us. Predictable behavior is easy to document. Jake pulls out a small notebook and starts writing. I'll need details. Where she goes, what time she leaves, who picks her up, everything. I tell him about the Mercedes, about the penthouse, about the coworkers who seem to be involved. Jake takes notes like he's working a case, which I guess he is. There's something else, I say. I think this might be connected to business somehow. She's been getting promotions, raises, better assignments, and these emails mention performance reviews. Controlled looks up from his notebook. You think she's sleeping her way up the corporate ladder? I think it's more complicated than that. I think they're all sleeping their way up the corporate ladder, together. Clang, Jesus, that's a whole different level of messed up. Unrestricted in silence for a moment, processing the implications. If this is some kind of corporate intimacy for influence scheme, it's not just about my marriage. It's about fraud, about corruption, about a whole web of people who think they can use personal relationships and power to get whatever they want. There's something else you should know, Jake says finally. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. That means no confrontations, no dramatic scenes, no tipping them off that we're watching. You have to act completely normal until we have everything we need. I can do that. Can you? Because your wife is going to come home tonight, probably around midnight based on her pattern, and she's going to lie to your face about where she's been. And you're going to have to smile and nod and pretend you believe her. The thought makes my stomach turn, but I nod. I understand. Good. Now, let's talk logistics. Jake explains how surveillance works. The equipment, the techniques, the legal boundaries we have to stay within. It's more complicated than I expected, but also more thorough. First thing we need is a baseline, he says. I need to know her normal routine, her real normal routine, not the lies she's been telling you. Can you track her movements without her knowing? Her phone has GPS tracking. We set it up for safety reasons when she started working late. Perfect. What about financial records? Unless joint accounts, joint credit cards, I can see everything. Yours. Even better, money leaves a trail. And people who think they're being clever usually aren't as careful as they think. We spend the next hour going through details. Jake explains how he'll conduct surveillance, what kind of evidence we'll need, how long it might take. It's methodical, professional, and somehow that makes it feel more real. My wife is cheating on me with multiple people as part of some kind of organized arrangement, and I'm going to prove it. One more thing, Jake says as we're getting ready to leave. What's your endgame here? Because surveillance is just the first step. Once we have proof, you're going to have to decide what to do with it. I don't know yet. Well, you better figure it out, because once we start this, there's no going back. Your marriage is over either way. The only question is how messy you want the ending to be. I drive home through our quiet suburban neighborhood, past houses full of families settling in for the evening. Kids doing homework, parents watching TV, dogs being walked. Normal people living normal lives. My house is dark when I pull into the driveway. Vanessa's car isn't there, of course. She's still at her networking event. I lock myself in and turn on some lights, trying to make it look like I've been home all evening. Then I sit in our living room and wait. She comes home at 12:47 a.m. I hear her key in the lock, then her heels on the hardwood floor. She's trying to be quiet, probably hoping I'm already asleep. David? She calls softly. In here, I say from the couch. She appears in the living room doorway, and I have to fight to keep my expression neutral. Her hair is messed up, her lipstick is gone, and her dress is wrinkled. She looks exactly like someone who's been having love. How was your networking event? I ask. Oh, boring corporate stuff. Lots of talk about quarterly projections and market positioning. She kicks off her heels and rubs her feet. I'm exhausted. Who all was there? The usual crowd. Richard, Sarah from marketing, Tom from legal, a few others from the executive team. The same names from the emails. She's not even trying to be creative with her lies. Sounds productive, I say. It was. I think I made some good connections for the Morrison account. She yawns dramatically. I'm going to shower and go to bed. Okay, I'll be up in a few minutes. She leans down and kisses the top of my head. Her hair smells like cologne, expensive cologne that I don't recognize. Love you, she says. Love you too. I watch her walk upstairs, and I think about Jake's warning. She just lied to my face about where she's been, what she's been doing, who she's been with, and I smiled and nodded and told her I loved her. This is going to be harder than I thought, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to smile and nod and play the role of the oblivious husband while Jake gathers evidence. I'm going to let her think she's getting away with it. And then, when I have everything I need, I'm going to decide exactly how messy I want this ending to be. The next morning, Vanessa is back to her normal routine. Coffee, yogurt, 20 minutes of getting ready that somehow takes an hour. She's wearing a new blouse, silk, probably expensive. Everything about her screams success and sophistication. I might be late again tonight, she says, not looking up from her phone. Richard called an emergency strategy meeting. It's Sunday. What kind of strategy meeting happens on Sunday night? That's fine, I say. I've got some research to catch up on anyway. She glances at me then, maybe surprised that I'm not asking questions or complaining about her schedule. Research? Redhead. New investment opportunities. There's a tech startup that looks promising. It's not entirely a lie. I have been researching tech companies, specifically Morrison Tech, where my wife works. I want to understand the corporate structure, the key players, the financial situation. If Jake's right about this being more than just cheating, I need to know what we're dealing with. Well, don't wait up, she says, kissing my cheek. These strategy sessions can run very late. After she leaves for work, I spend the morning going through our financial records with new eyes. Credit card statements, bank records, investment portfolios. Looking for patterns I missed before. And I find them. Hotel charges every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for the past 6 months. Always the same hotel, the Meridian downtown. Always the same amount, $347, which I now realize is probably the cost of the penthouse suite. Restaurant charges on the same nights. Expensive restaurants. The kind of places that serve tiny portions on huge plates. The kind of places where a bottle of wine costs more than most people spend on groceries in a week. Shopping charges at high-end boutiques. Lingerie stores. Jewelry stores. All on our joint credit card. She's been using our money to fund her affairs. My phone rings. It's Jake. I've got some preliminary information, he says. Can you meet me at the office? Jake's office is in a strip mall between a nail salon and a tax preparation service. It's not glamorous, but it's private and secure. The kind of place where people come when they need answers they can't get anywhere else. I did some basic research on the players, he says, spreading files across his desk. Richard Morrison, CEO of Morrison Tech. Married, 2 kids in private school, lives in a $2.3 million house in the hills. Clean record, but there are rumors. What kind of rumors? The kind that don't make it into official reports. Word is, he's got a reputation for being very hands-on with female employees, especially the attractive ones with ambition. Jake opens another file. Sarah Chen, marketing director, single, ambitious, joined the company 2 years ago and has been promoted 3 times. That's unusual in a company Morrison Tech's size. Reds? And Tom? Tom Bradley, legal counsel. Married, but his wife filed for separation last month. Guess when that happened? Right around the time these parties started? Bingo. She cited irreconcilable differences, but I'm betting there's more to it. Jake leans back in his chair. Here's what I think is happening. Morrison is running some kind of quid pro quo arrangement. Personal relationships in exchange for promotions, access, favorable treatment. Your wife and the others are willing participants because it's advancing their careers. But that's illegal, right? Workplace misconduct creating a hostile work environment? Only if someone complains. And if everyone's a willing participant, if they're all benefiting from the arrangement, who's going to complain? Not about this. It's sick, but it's also smart in a twisted way. Create a system where everyone has something to lose if the truth comes out. There's something else, Jake says. I looked into Morrison Tech's financials. The company's been struggling lately. Stock prices down, they've had to lay off workers, and there are rumors about a potential buyout. What does that have to do with anything? Maybe nothing, or maybe everything. If the company's in trouble, if people are worried about their jobs, they might be more willing to do whatever it takes to stay in Morrison's good graces. Jake shows me surveillance photos from the previous night. Long-distance shots of the Meridian Hotel, of people entering and leaving. The images are grainy, but I can make out figures that look like Vanessa, Morrison, and the others. I need better access, Jake says. Closer surveillance, audio if possible. But that means taking bigger risks. What kind of risks? The kind that could get us arrested if we're not careful. The kind that could blow up in our faces if they realize what we're doing. I look at the photos again. My wife walking into a hotel with another man. Smiling, laughing, completely comfortable with the situation. Do it, I say, whatever it takes. You sure? Because once we cross certain lines, there's no going back. I'm sure. Jake nods and starts putting the files away. Okay, but we do this my way, by my rules. And David, you need to be prepared for what we might find, because I have a feeling this goes deeper than just cheating. That evening, I'm sitting in our living room when Vanessa comes home from her strategy meeting. It's 1:15 a.m., and she looks like she's been through a marathon. How was the meeting? I ask. Productive, she says, avoiding eye contact. We made some real progress on the Henderson project. There is no Henderson project. I've been through all her work files, all her emails. It doesn't exist. That's great, I say. I'm proud of you for working so hard. She looks at me then maybe more closing. She claimed that her little lot and little. Look, let's finally. She looks at me then. Maybe that one of the third levels really work. She looks at me then, maybe surprised by the sincerity in my voice. For a moment, I see something in her eyes. Guilt, maybe, or uncertainty. David, she starts, then stops. Never mind. I'm just tired. Go get some rest. We can talk tomorrow. She heads upstairs and I shirted Bolchin. And I sure it leaves something major the noons, like someone work. She heads upstairs and I hear the shower start, washing off the evidence of her evening. I sit in the dark living room and think about what Jake said. This goes deeper than just cheating. It's about power, about corruption, about people who think they can use love and manipulation to get whatever they want. But here's what they don't realize. I'm not the pathetic, oblivious husband they think I am. I'm a successful investor because I know how to research, how to plan, how to wait for the right moment to make my move. And I'm very good at making moves that people don't see coming. My phone buzzes. A text from Jake. Equipment is in place. We'll have audio by Thursday. I delete the message and head upstairs. Vanessa's already in Bother, and let's call the medical stuff. Vanessa's already in the load care, and Vanessa to be asleep. Her breathing is too controlled, too regular. She's awake, probably thinking about her evening, about whatever happened in that penthouse suite. I get ready for bed quietly, slip under the covers, and lie there in the dark. David, she whispers, yeah? Do you ever think about what you want out of life? I mean, really want? It's an odd question, especially at 2 a.m. after she's been cheating on me. Sometimes, I say. Why? I don't know. I've been thinking lately about success, about what it takes to get ahead, about whether the things we do to succeed are worth it. Is she having second thoughts? Is this her way of testing whether I know something? I think success is important, I say carefully, but not at the expense of the people we love. She's quiet for a long time. Then, what if the people we love are holding us back? The question hangs in the air between us like a challenge. Then maybe we need to figure out what we really value, I say. She doesn't respond, and eventually her breathing becomes genuinely regular. She's asleep. But I lie awake for hours, thinking about her question. What if the people we love are holding us back? She thinks I'm holding her back. She thinks my blue-collar roots, my second-tier success, my inability to play corporate politics are limiting her potential. What she doesn't realize is that she's about to find out exactly what I'm capable of when someone I love betrays me. And it's going to be a lesson she'll never forget. Thursday comes faster than I expected. Jake calls me at work with news that makes my blood run cold. We got it all, he says. Audio, video, financial records. David, this is bigger than we thought. How much bigger? Meet me at Murphy's Living for breaking the link and looking 14th aces. And bring a strong stomach. I leave work early, telling my assistant I have a family emergency. It's not technically a lie. Jake is waiting in our usual booth, but this time he has a laptop and a thick folder of documents. His expression is grim. Before I show you this, he says, I want you to know that we have enough evidence for multiple felony charges. Fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy. This isn't just about your marriage anymore. He opens the laptop and plays an audio file. The quality is surprisingly clear. I hear Vanessa's voice. Richard, the Peterson account is worth $2.3 million. If I can guarantee their business stays with Morrison Tech, what's that worth to you? Morrison's voice. Depends on how you guarantee it. The same way I guaranteed the Williams account and the Rodriguez contract. Well, in that case, I think we can discuss a significant bonus and perhaps a promotion to senior director. With Tom handling the legal paperwork to make sure everything looks legitimate? Of course, Tom's very good at making things look legitimate. Jake pauses the recording. They're not just trading love for promotions. They're using love to secure business deals, then covering it up with fraudulent contracts. My head is spinning. What do you mean? Your wife and the others are sleeping with clients to secure business. Then Morrison is paying them bonuses and promotions as kickbacks. The whole thing is being disguised as legitimate business transactions. Jake shows me financial records, bank statements, contract documents. It's a sophisticated operation, carefully designed to look legal on the surface. How much money are we talking about? Madison. Over the past year, Morrison Tech has secured $12 million in new business through these arrangements. The participants have received over $800,000 in bonuses and salary increases. I think about our joint bank account, about the sudden influx of money from Vanessa's performance bonuses. Money I've been investing, money that's now tied up in our shared assets. There's more, Jake says. He plays another audio file. This time it's Sarah Chen's voice. What about David? Vanessa says he's starting to ask questions. Morrison, what kind of questions? Vanessa, nothing specific, but he's not stupid. If he starts digging into our finances, he might notice patterns. Tom Bradley, we could discredit him, make it look like he's having mental health issues, maybe drinking too much. If it comes down to his word against ours, or we could bring him in. Some husbands might be interested in the arrangement. Not David. He's too moral, too rigid. He'd never understand that this is just business. Then we make sure he doesn't find out. And if he does, we make sure no one believes him. The recording ends. I sit in silence, processing what I've just heard. They were planning to destroy me, to discredit me, maybe even frame me to protect their operation. When was this recorded? I ask. 2 nights ago, Tuesday's meeting. 2 nights ago, while I was at home waiting for my wife to come back from her work event, she was discussing ways to neutralize me as a threat. Jake, I say slowly, I want to destroy them. I figured you might. The question is, how? We spend the next 2 hours planning. Jake has contacts in law enforcement, in the media, in the corporate world. We can take this evidence to the FBI, to the SEC, to Morrison Tech's board of directors. But I want something more personal first. I want to confront them, I say, all of them, together. That's dangerous. If they know we have evidence, they might try to destroy it or disappear. Not if we do it right. Not if we do it publicly. Jake looks at me carefully. What are you thinking? Morrison Tech is having their annual shareholder meeting next week. Public event, lots of witnesses, media coverage. What if some of this evidence accidentally became public during the meeting? That's actually not a bad idea, but you'd need to be careful about how you present it. Defamation laws, corporate regulations, all of that. That's why we have Tom Bradley's own voice on tape, admitting to fraud. Hard to claim defamation when it's their own words. Jake grins for the first time since I've known him to be working this case. You know what? I think I like this plan. We spend the rest of the evening working out details. How to get the evidence into the shareholders meeting. How to make sure it gets maximum exposure. How to protect ourselves legally. By the time I get home, it's almost midnight. Vanessa's car is in the driveway. She's home early for once. I find her in the kitchen, sitting at the breakfast bar with a glass of wine. She looks tired, stressed. "Hey," she says when I walk in. "Where were you? I tried calling." I lost track of see suspicion in her eyes. "Everything okay? You've been different lately." "Different how?" "I don't know. Distant? Like you're thinking about something else all the time?" A passport of wine and sit across from her. "I've been thinking about us, actually." "Us?" "Our marriage. Our future. Whether we want the same things." She sets down her wine glass and looks at me seriously. Me, that's gonna big checks and back does never think. She comes creative joyled at first. "I don't want to take a fun of this story." She start then on the flavor and just in the first time of the things. She sets down her wine glass and looks at me seriously. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I've been wondering if we're growing apart. If maybe we want different things out of life." For a moment, I think she might confess. I can see the guilt in her eyes, the weight of her secrets. But then her expression hardens. "I think we want the same things we've always wanted. Success, security, a good life. What if those things come at a cost? What if achieving them means compromising our values? Sometimes, sometimes you have to make sacrifices to get ahead, David. Let's go in back. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices to get ahead, David. What I've thought that's true. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices to get ahead, David. That's how the world works." "What kind of sacrifices?" Shields. She stands up abruptly. "I don't know what this is about, but I'm too tired for philosophical discussions. I'm going to bed." She starts to leave, then turns back. "David, if you're unhappy with our life, if you think I'm not good enough for you anymore, just say so. Don't play games." The irony is overwhelming. She's accusing me of playing games while she's been living a double life for months. "I don't think you're not good enough," I say. "I think you're exactly who you've always been. I'm just finally seeing it clearly." Crimson at me for a long moment, then shakes her head and walks upstairs. I sit in the kitchen, finishing my wine, thinking about the shareholders meeting next week, thinking about the look on her face when she realizes that her moral, rigid husband has outplayed her at her own game. She thinks I don't understand that this is just business. She's about to learn that I understand business better than she ever imagined. And I'm about to show her exactly what happens when someone tries to play games with me. The Morrison Tech shareholders meeting is held in the ballroom of the Meridian Hotel, the same hotel where my wife has been conducting her business meetings. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm wearing my best suit, the one Vanessa always said made me look like I was trying too hard. Today, I want to look like I belong here. Jake is positioned near the back of the room with a camera and recording equipment. We've also planted devices that will broadcast the audio to local news stations. Jake still has contacts from his police days. The room is full of shareholders, board members, and corporate executives. Vanessa is sitting in the front row with the other senior staff, looking confident and professional. She doesn't know I'm here. Richard Morrison takes the podium to begin his presentation about the company's record-breaking year. He talks about new contracts, increased revenue, expanded market share. Everything sounds impressive until you know how those results were actually achieved. "I want to especially recognize our outstanding business development team," Morrison says. Led by Senior Director Vanessa Hayes, they've secured over $12 million in new business this year. Underwater Vanessa stands and waves to polite applause. She's glowing with pride. That's my cue. I stand up in the middle of the audience. "I have a question about those business development methods." Meeboard looks surprised. "I'm sorry, but questions are reserved for the end of the presentation." "This can't wait," I say, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I think the shareholders deserve to know how those contracts were really secured." Security starts moving toward me, but I'm already talking. "My name is David Hayes. Vanessa Hayes is my wife, and I have evidence that Morrison Tech has been using illicit relationships and fraud to secure business contracts." The room erupts. Vanessa's face goes white. Morrison is shouting something, but I can't hear him over the noise. Jake activates the audio system. Suddenly, the room is filled with the sound of recorded conversations. Morrison discussing bonuses for inappropriate personal favors. Vanessa talking about guaranteeing business through romantic leverage. Tom Bradley admitting to fraudulent contracts. "These recordings were made over the past month," I shout over the chaos. "They document a systematic pattern of using love to secure business deals, then disguising kickbacks as legitimate bonuses and promotions." Security reaches me, but it's too late. The damage is done. People are recording with their phones, reporters are taking notes, and the audio evidence is still playing. I see Vanessa pushing through the crowd toward me. Her face is a mask of rage and humiliation. "You bastard!" she screams when she reaches me. "You have no idea what you've just done." "I know exactly what I've done," I say calmly. "I've exposed the truth." Clang. The truth? The truth is that you're a pathetic, jealous husband who can't stand that his wife is more successful than he is. Success built on selling yourself isn't success, Vanessa. It's just self-promotion with a price tag. She slaps me. Hard. In front of everyone. The room goes quiet for a moment. Then the cameras start flashing again. "You want to know the truth?" she says, loud enough for everyone to hear. "The truth is that I've been sleeping with Richard because he appreciates me, because he values what I bring to the table, because he's not threatened by my ambition. And the fraud, the fake contracts, the money laundering? Business is business, David. Just because you don't have the stomach for what it takes to succeed doesn't mean the rest of us should be held back by your limitations." Morrison appears beside her, flanked by security guards. "This is a private corporate meeting," he announces. "Anyone who doesn't belong here needs to leave immediately." "Actually," says a new voice from the back of the room, "this is now a crime scene. FBI agents are entering the ballroom, badges visible, moving with purpose. Jake must have timed this perfectly. Richard Morrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, money laundering, and violation of federal anti-corruption statutes." They read him his rights while the crowd watches in stunned silence. "Vanessa Hayes, Sarah Chen, Tom Bradley, you're also under arrest." I handcuff my wife. She's still staring at me with pure hatred. "This isn't over, David," she says as they lead her away. "You think you've won, but you have no idea what you've just started." "Yes, I do," I reply. "I've started the end of your career, your reputation, and our marriage. And I've made sure everyone knows exactly who you really are." The FBI agents escort the arrested executives out of the ballroom. The remaining shareholders and board members are buzzing with shock and confusion. Jake appears beside me. "How do you feel?" "Like I just took out the trash." "Prosecuting, the media is going to want interviews. This is going to be a huge story." I look around the room at the chaos we've created. Reporters are already making phone calls. Shareholders are demanding answers. And corporate lawyers are probably having heart attacks. "Good," I say. "Let them tell the story. Let everyone know what really goes on in corporate America when people think they can get away with anything." Hotel, I think about Vanessa's threat that this isn't over. She's right, in a way. There will be trials, depositions, media coverage. Our divorce will be messy and public. But the part that mattered, the part where she thought she could betray me, humiliate me, and get away with it, that part is definitely over. I've spent months playing the role of the oblivious husband while gathering evidence. I've smiled and nodded while she lied to my face. I've pretended to be the pathetic, jealous spouse she thought I was. But now she knows the truth. I'm not the weak link in this relationship. I never was. And I've just proven that when someone tries to destroy me, I don't just fight back. I win. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in the same booth at Murphy's Pub, but this time I'm reading newspaper headlines instead of planning surveillance operations. Morrison tech executives charged in love for contracts scandal. FBI uncovers $1 million corporate love for favors scheme. Whistleblower husband exposes wife's role in corporate fraud. With 2 beers, how does it feel to be famous? Exhausting, I say, folding the belt and living on the language. I've had interview requests from every major news outlet, 3 book publishers, and 2 movie producers. You thinking about taking any of them? Maybe the book deal. I think people need to understand how easy it is for corruption to hide in plain sight. Injecting Jake nods. What's the latest on the legal front? Morrison's looking at 15 to 20 years. The fraud charges alone are enough to put him away for a decade, and the conspiracy charges add another layer. And Vanessa? Her lawyer is trying to work out a plea deal. Cooperation in exchange for reduced charges. Will she take it? I think about my wife, my soon-to-be up for first to this country. I think that she'd be able to told in on later, her pride, her ambition, her absolute certainty that she was smarter than everyone else. No, I say, she'll fight it. She still thinks she can talk her way out of this. My phone buzzes with a text message. It's from a number I don't recognize. David, we need to talk. There are things about this situation you don't understand. Meet me at the Starbucks on 5th Street at 3 p.m. Come alone. V. I show the message to Jake. That's a burner phone, he says immediately. She's not supposed to contact you directly. Violates the restraining order. Should I ignore it? Probably, but I'm curious what she thinks she can say at this point that would make any difference. I'm curious too. Against my better judgment, I text back, 1 hour, and Jake comes with me. Her response is immediate. Fine, but you're making a mistake. Starbucks is crowded with the usual afternoon crowd. Students, business people, mothers with strollers, normal people living normal lives, unaware that they're about to witness the final confrontation between a whistleblower and the wife who tried to destroy him. Vanessa is already there when we arrived, sitting at a corner table wearing dark sunglasses and a baseball cap. She looks different, smaller somehow, less polished. Prison orange jumpsuit replaced by civilian clothes, but the confidence is gone. You came, she says as I sit down. Jake remains standing, positioned where he can see the entire coffee shop. You said there were things I didn't understand. I'm listening. She takes off the sunglasses, and I see that she's been crying. Her eyes are red, her makeup smeared. David, I need you to understand something. What we were doing, it wasn't just about love or money or power. It was about survival. Survival? Morrison Tech was failing. The company was going bankrupt. We were all going to lose our jobs, our careers, everything we'd worked for. So you decided to engage in inappropriate personal relationships for contracts? We decided to do whatever it took to save the company, to save everyone's jobs. Do you have any idea how many people are employed by Morrison Tech? How many families depend on those paychecks? I stare at her. Are you seriously trying to justify fraud and trading love for power as some kind of noble sacrifice? I'm trying to explain that the world isn't as black and white as you think it is. Sometimes good people have to do bad things for good reasons. And the part where you plan to destroy me if I found out, was that for good reasons too? She has the grace to look ashamed. That was Richard's idea. I never wanted to hurt you. But you went along with it. I went along with a lot of things. I'm just another here. I can't be nothing for you at a special current around there. I went along with a lot of things I'm not proud of. Blankets, Jake steps forward. Mrs. Hayes, this conversation is being recorded, and you're violating a court order by contacting your husband. I'd suggest you get to the point. Vanessa looks up at him, then back at me. The point is that I made mistakes, terrible mistakes. But I never stopped loving you, David. And I need you to know that before what? In the air between us. I realize what she's really saying. You're going to take the plea deal. My lawyer says it's the only way to avoid 20 years in prison. If I cooperate fully, testify against Richard and the others, I might get 5 years, maybe 3 with good behavior. And you want my blessing? I want your forgiveness. I look at this woman I've been married to for 12 years. This woman who shared my bed, my dreams, my bank accounts. This woman who betrayed me, lied to me, and planned to destroy me to protect her secrets. Vanessa, I say quietly, I don't forgive you. Her face crumbles. David, please, I know I hurt you, but you didn't just hurt me. You humiliated me. You made me feel like I was crazy for suspecting the truth. You used our joint assets to fund your affairs. You discussed ways to discredit me, maybe even frame me, to protect your criminal enterprise. Expelled. Qualker. You never wanted to get caught. That's different from never wanting to hurt me. I stand up to leave, but she grabs my arm. What happens to us? She asks. To our marriage. Redhead ended the first time you walked into that hotel room with Richard Morrison. Everything since then has just been paperwork. David, wait. Turn back. I need you to know something. When this all started, when Richard first approached me about the arrangement, I said no. I said I was married, that I loved my husband, that I couldn't do something like that. What changed your mind? He showed me your investment portfolio. He showed me how much money you were making, how successful you were becoming. And he said that you were going to outgrow me, that eventually you'd leave me for someone more sophisticated, more successful. I stare at her. So you decided to cheat on me because you thought I might cheat on you. I decided to make myself indispensable, to become so successful, so valuable, that you'd never want to leave me. The twisted logic is almost breathtaking. Vanessa, I say, I never wanted to leave you. I wanted to build a life with you. But you were so focused on what you thought I might do that you destroyed what we actually had. I walk away, leaving her sitting alone in the crowded coffee shop. Outside, Jake is waiting by his car. How do you feel? He asks. Free, I say. For the first time in months, I feel completely free. What's next? Divorce proceedings, testimony at the trials, probably a book deal. And after that, I think about this. What do you do after you've exposed a corporate conspiracy, destroyed your marriage, and become a minor celebrity whistleblower? I think I'm going to start a new investment firm, I say. Something focused on ethical businesses, transparent practices, companies that succeed because they're good at what they do, not because they're good at corruption. Jake grins. Think there's a market for that? After this scandal, I think there's going to be a huge market for that. 6 months later, I'm in my new office, smaller than Morrison Tech's headquarters, but cleaner somehow. More honest. Hayes Ethical Investments is already managing $50 million in assets, all from clients who want to make money without compromising their values. My phone rings. It's my assistant. Mr. Hayes, there's a reporter here from the Wall Street Journal. She wants to do a follow-up story on the Morrison Tech scandal. Send her in. Weapons is young, ambitious, reminds me a little of how Vanessa used to be. But there's something different in her eyes. Integrity, maybe. Mr. Hayes, it's been 6 months since you exposed the Morrison Tech scandal. Richard Morrison was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Your ex-wife received 5 years in exchange for her testimony. How do you feel about the outcome? I feel like justice was served. Do you have any regrets about how you handled things? I think about I regret destroying my marriage. Do I regret the public humiliation, the media circus, the way it dominated my life for months? No, I say. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that people I trusted chose corruption over integrity. But I don't regret exposing the truth. What's your message to other people who might find themselves in similar situations? That the truth is worth fighting for. That integrity matters more than success. And that sometimes the people we love aren't who we think they are. But that doesn't mean we have to become someone we're not. The reporter finishes her questions and leaves. I sit in my office, looking out at the city, thinking about the path that brought me here. A year ago, I was a successful but second-tier investor, married to an ambitious woman who thought I was holding her back. I was the kind of person who avoided conflict, who trusted too easily, who believed that love and loyalty were enough to hold a marriage together. Now I'm the founder of a growing investment firm, the author of a best-selling book about corporate corruption, and a man who learned that sometimes the only way to save yourself is to destroy everything you thought you wanted. Vanessa was right about one thing. I didn't understand that this is just business. I learned. And I turned out to be much better at business than any of them ever imagined.